was like fighting a truck. I looked at my dad and I said, kill him.
He's covered in blood.
Kids would have had to grow up without a dad and a wife without a husband.
I'm in trouble right now. All I could think was, I want my mom, I want my dad.
He didn't want to die alone. It was important that I'd be there.
The plan for the day was to surf and then to spend the rest of the day with my family. Where we live in Costa Rica, I can take the quad down to the beach, then go surf, then come home, then bicycle back out, surf again, then come home and just pass out. It's my favorite thing to do. I try to do it twice a day, just because I love it. It's what I want to do every day, all day. You get inside the water and all the drama and everything else outside is gone. It's just really free.
You always look around and wonder about the sharks, because that's a definite possibility if you're a surfer.
There's always that potential knowing that there might be something out in the water. But you just can't have it in your mind. Otherwise, you'd just be so paranoid out there and you can't relax, you can't surf, you just can't do it. You just gotta let it go.
Dakota, he's my boy. He's really independent. I mean, and he always has been. He's an amazing athlete. I mean, anything that he tries to do, he does it really well.
I love my mom. She's very supportive in everything I do. Family means everything to me.
He's got no fear, you know? Which, that makes me really nervous sometimes. You know, you think about sharks. Because there's quite a few species, and they get close.
Paddled out, it's just really relaxing. Really nice day out, all nice and sunny. It was really a feeling of be calm and safe and comfortable. And then, all of a sudden, I felt teeth sink into my leg. I didn't see any animal or even a fin. It just was the most painful feeling I've ever felt. I felt the yank, and then I felt it tried to pull me under the water. And then I caught myself. I was in shock. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. It shook me side to side to side, almost like to disorient me. It wanted me to go underwater. I didn't see anything. And then I looked up. Oh my God. It was a crocodile. He was trying to pull me down and shaking me side to side. I could hear the water splashing. I was going, shh, shh, shh. I just knew, okay, this is it.
Every September, Ronnie and I always go on a hunting trip, and normally to the same place we have been for the last several years. always went with my dad hunting. I raised my kids to do the same thing.
The most important thing about it is spend some quality time, you know, me and my dad. It's great because he's like, you know, he's my dad, but he's my friend. You know, we do everything together.
Ever since Ronnie was little, him and I have fished and hunted together. It's just something that he has always loved to do, and of course, being his dad, I just love it when he would go with me. I'm getting older and I can't do the things that I could do at one time, and he kind of prods me along or helps me along. And in fact, if it wasn't for him, I could never go up there where we go. Everything started out the same as always.
We took off and went 15 miles into our camp. When we're riding in, we hear, you know, the hooves hitting the rocks and creeks running, and just the sounds of nature is all you hear.
When you're out in the woods camping like that and hunting, I mean, you just leave civilization behind you. It's just a kick-back, relaxed time. As we were going up there, I just said a little prayer. I asked God to guide my arrow that day because I had high hopes that I'm going to kill my first bull elk with my bow. It's just something that I want so bad, and I needed help.
We got up early the next morning and had a really good feeling that we were going to get an elk because we were going to our favorite spot.
We decided that we would leave our pistols at camp.
We're already packing all this other stuff, and we just, you know, we knew we wouldn't need them that day.
Everything was going perfect except for the fact that I had missed 2 elk.
I could tell he was getting frustrated, I was getting frustrated. It was like we've been so close so many times, but it just hadn't worked out yet.
When we got to the spot we were going to hunt, we talked about where I was going to set up, and then he was going to get up behind me about 35 or 40 yards.
I was calling and watching down there below my dad. When I was calling, all of a sudden I heard a noise behind me, and I kind of jumped. It was just a small bull elk. It wasn't a baby, but it wasn't a big enough one for me to shoot, so I just let it go, and it kind of walked off. I turned back around after that and kept calling because there was another bull elk.
I was ready. I had my bow, an arrow nocked, and I saw it appear about 40 yards below me. I mean, I just knew, okay, this is the one I'm finally going to get to put my tag on.
I was waiting for him any second. I figured he was going to shoot it. And then all of a sudden, the elk just took off. And it was gone. And I stood up, and I was looking down where the elk went, and then I heard something else behind me. And I turned around expecting to see another elk there. It was a bear. His eyes were just shiny, black eyes just staring right at me. I was gonna get attacked.
It's throwing me side to side to side. It's just excruciating pain. That thing is just so much force. It's just unbelievable. The board was definitely everything to keep me up. That was my lifeline. I'm not going underwater. I knew underwater, and there's just no chance of me making it. All of a sudden, the crocodile lost its grip and just basically scraped off. I just started paddling in, screaming as loud as I can. I didn't know if the animal was following me or not. My focus was just to get through that one motion. That motion was everything to get me in out of the water. I looked back. It was just all red. Almost looked like a red sidewalk. But I knew that that was my blood. That I was losing blood. And just screaming and screaming, paddling as fast as I could. Everything was to get onto the beach.
We were walking, my husband and I were walking, and we saw this child on a surfboard. And I'm like, there's something not right. Then we heard him shout, and I could see some blood.
The chap came riding in on his surfboard, on his belly, right up the beach. Riding up the beach on your surfboard would cause damage to your surfboard.
He stood up and he didn't stand up right. He staggered a little bit, and that's when I knew that he was hurt. Something was wrong.
Slowly but surely, his leg is coming into view. It looks like he got something stuck on the bottom of his calf muscle. And I'm thinking, wow, what is that? I suddenly realized the thing down by his ankle is his calf muscle.
And the whole day just changed in an instant. You could see his femur bone, his knee, the inside of his knee. It was mangled. It was horrific. It was just terrible. There was an incredible amount of blood. So I tried to take my sarong and tie it around the top of his leg. I didn't even look at him. I just started reassuring him. And I was trying to be almost a bit lighthearted about it because I didn't want him to freak. And I heard him say, "Andrea, please don't let me die." I was so shocked. It's like he knows my name. And I looked into this child's face, and his big brown eyes were just staring at me, and I was like, I know this child. And then it was like being hit by a train. I was like, oh my God. It's Dakota.
The look he had in his eyes, I knew that bear was going to attack me. I threw my hands up and hollered, "Get out of here," to show him that I was a person.
The second he yelled, "Get out of here," I knew there was a grizzly.
He pinned his ears down. You know, anytime an animal's ears go back, they're mad. So I just took off straight down the hill. He came straight at me. It was like a freight train coming through the trees. I was running down the hill, barely able to stay up because I'm going so fast.
He was running toward me. There's like 40 yards between us. The bear was like 2 steps behind him. And I drew my bow.
I was just running full speed down the hill, and all of a sudden I see an arrow fly right by my leg. And I did not know if it hit the bear or anything. I had no idea. I'm not really clear whether I tripped or the bear knocked me down. But I was on the ground, and he was on top of me. I could feel his breath. I mean, he was just right in my face. I started kicking and hitting, and it was like, you know, fighting a truck or something. It wasn't phasing him, and he wasn't gonna quit.
I knew I hit the bear when I shot, but I didn't have any idea where I hit it. And the thought that I had, I just had Ronnie in my arms. He was a little baby. And then this grizzly bear is going to tear him to pieces.
Sudden, I heard the boy speak, and he said, "Andrea, please don't let me die." And I looked up and I saw it was Dakota. The second he said my name, the first thought to me was like, oh my God, that was my friend's little boy. Nothing prepared me for that.
suddenly made everything 100% personal. It was now my friend's son in my arms. We knew we had to get him to the clinic right now. Like, the faster the better.
As I was running out the beach, I'm thinking, what are we going to do? And I could hear Chris going, the cars are too far away. We don't have time. We don't have time to get a car. I was really frightened. I was panicking at that point. Everything was just so fast and surreal and just panic. I saw a car coming out of the corner of my eye. They just were like, what are you doing? And I pointed, and I said, you know, we're in real bad trouble here. And we need you to help us.
Just as we were about to go, Andrea looked at me and she said, I'm going to go and get his mum and dad.
And I just turned and ran to get my car.
Slammed the lid down behind us, and the guys go, where do you need to go? Dakota was looking very pale, was looking very sleepy. I didn't want him to go unconscious, because if he'd gone unconscious, then there would have been nothing I could have done. My overriding thought was, he's going to go into shock here.
So I'm looking down, and the whole situation is going through my mind. Everything was racing. Time was moving so fast. I got cold flashes, and I felt so sick to my stomach. All I could think about was, I want my family here. I was just in and out, just thinking, this is happening. I could die.
I was suddenly by myself, and I was driving to get Dakota's mum. And I didn't even know if Dakota was going to make it to the clinic. And I remember looking down at myself, and I was covered in his blood. And I just thought, what do I say?
I was cleaning the car, you know, face down, scrubbing, until I hear screaming outside the gates. And I'm like, oh my God, what is that? I come around the corner and I see Andrea. I'm like, Andrea? It was such a surprise to see her. I saw panic in Andrea's eyes.
And I just took a deep breath, and I looked at her and I said, Pranilla, it's really bad. Dakota's been bitten by a crocodile.
The ground, he was right on top of me. I was kicking him right in the chest. I thought my dad had shot the bear. I was hoping that the arrow hit its mark and did some damage.
Ronnie was on his back fighting the bear. He had his hands up and he was trying to protect his face. And he was kicking him. His legs were going just like he was riding a bicycle 100 miles an hour.
I'm hitting him and kicking him. And at that point, he bit through my right arm. I remember feeling like my bone was going to snap.
But I knew I had to do something to get the bear off of him.
When the bear grabbed a hold of my arm, it actually jerked me up onto my feet. In the midst of all this, I found myself standing up again. The only thing I could do was take off running again down the hill. I might have a chance here. I went to jump in between two trees. They were forked right at the bottom. I got tangled up. Sudden, he was on me again. I knew that he wasn't going to quit.
It was like I'd just punched her in the face. She just rooted to the spot. All the colour went out of her face and she just started swaying. It was the most incredible swaying, and I thought she's going to fall over.
Immediately what went through my mind was that I gotta go, now. My focus was so strong and so tunnel visioned that nothing else mattered. I couldn't care less what was happening around me. I was just yelling out the door, you know, move, move. The only thought that was really going through my mind is that I'm coming, you know, I'm coming, Dakota. I'm gonna be there. You just hang on. I'll be there. Everything else was just a blur.
They got me into the clinic. I remember just laying down and watching the doctors move around. They'd walk behind him. It was almost like there was a haze. Almost like my eyes, my mind couldn't process just one person walking. I really, really wanted my parents to be there. That's all I could think about was, I want my mom and I want my dad.
As we pulled up to the clinic, my heart was beating so hard. And it was so frightening, running into the clinic, just looking, shouting, you know, where is he? And someone pointed to the back. And then I knew he was alive. And that's all I cared about.
His face was beaded, you know, and he looked so small. It was just like a little boy, shivering in pain and so helpless. He looked, you know, that like, Mom. He didn't want to die alone, you know? And it was important, you know, that I'd be there.
I saw my mom. She came up and I think she held my hand. She said, it's gonna be all right. We're gonna get you through this. I was really happy to see her.
When I saw the doctor and he was really nervous, I realized that he was scared because he didn't know what to do. His leg was torn apart. He needed surgery. He needed a lot more than they could do. They patched him up and kept him alive and kept him out of pain as much as possible. But that's all they could do. There was an orthopedic surgeon in San Jose. I knew I needed to get him there.
The doctor said, you have 6 hours to get to the next hospital before you get in real trouble. After 6 hours, I could get an infection and possibly die.
They called for a helicopter and there was none available. So, I mean, my heart just sunk. I called my husband and I'm just like, Todd, this is what you gotta do. You gotta call, you gotta find a helicopter or a plane or he is gonna die.
I was in when I was stuck there, he could have absolutely torn me to pieces. I kept turning around, sticking my hand up in his face, and that's when he bit through my hand. It was like trying to fight something that you knew, you know, you just knew you couldn't win. No matter what I did, it didn't seem to faze him. And he wasn't slowing down, and I knew I couldn't keep going like that. And then all of a sudden, I felt a huge weight. I mean, just slam into me, and he was on me again. I mean, he had perfect access to my back. You know, there was puncture wounds. I don't know why he didn't just completely tear my back up big time. I don't know why. There was kind of a sense of defeat. I had a feeling that I was done. You know, I was getting to the point where, I mean, if something didn't happen, you know, it was over, and there wasn't much more I could do.
When I ran down the hill, I was looking on the ground for something big that would hurt the bear. But all I wanted to do was to get the bear off of him. There was nothing on the ground, so I started using my bow. And at that point, I couldn't see Ronnie. The bear was completely covering him. I had the bow in both hands, and I was swinging it as hard as I could. And I didn't know what kind of shape Ronnie was in at all. I was just hitting it, wanting it to get off of him. If he did get off of Ronnie, he was going to come to me. But that was the main point. That now he's focused on me, so maybe Ronnie will be okay. He's got his whole life ahead of him, you know, and I've had a life.
And then all of a sudden, you know, the weight's off of me, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I kind of turned my head a little bit and looked out of the corner of my eye and actually seen my dad standing there. And the bear is looking right at him. I thought, you know, if he attacks my dad, I don't know what I am going to be able to do.
And I thought, oh my gosh, now it's my turn.
It's like reality, just knowing that my life is in danger at this moment.
Waiting was excruciating. If we drive to the hospital and take 4 hours to get there, gotta find a helicopter or a plane or something. Seeing your kid in pain like that, it's just, please let me give him a break. Let it be me instead. And finally, hey, Pernilla, my husband, Todd came out. We got the plane. It's coming. It's there. So we got to meet him at the runway. When I got to the hospital and they unraveled the bandages and I got to see what it was like, it was an intense moment of just realizing how bad it really was. You know, the skin was just, it was just hanging. It's amazing that he's alive, because what I saw was a horror movie. I didn't know if he was going to come out of that surgery with his leg.
Got off of him, and it turned and looked at me and took a couple steps toward me, and I thought, now it's my turn. But then just turned to its left and went around the tree right by where Ronnie was.
Like he was going to come back towards me, and he walked right by me.
And it went down there about 20 yards, and it stopped, and it looked back at us, and then I could see the arrow that I had shot the bear with.
I just looked at my dad and I said, you know, kill him.
And I thought if I shot it again, it would just make it mad and it would come back.
And he He said, well, I already shot him, and I think I hit him really good. And then the bear turned. He just fell over.
Fell over dead.
And that is the first time that I found out that he was actually hit with the arrow.
The arrow went between his chin and his breastbone and hit a main artery. The arrow had to be perfect. And you know that I'm not a perfect shot because I just missed 2 elk. I ran to Ronnie because he's covered in blood. He's just covered in blood. He started shaking.
I got super cold. Everything started getting blurry. The pain started to set in. I could feel the throbbing, and it was starting to get painful.
When we were riding out from camp back to the trailhead, I'm still thinking he could be dying of something and you wouldn't even know it. His left hand had been bitten through. He was just mangled.
We had a good 16, 17 miles to go. No cell phone service. 7 hours before I could get to the pickup, and then another hour after that to get to town. I was fighting to keep myself conscious, and I thought about my family and my wife and my kids. Oh, if I didn't make it, it would have just... The kids would have had to grow up without a dad, and a wife without a husband. Thought to myself, I mean, there's no way that I'm gonna die on this hill and leave everybody. There's no way it was gonna happen. It was a long 7-hour ride to the trailhead. We got back to the pickup. Every movement I could feel pain in my arm and my hand and my back.
I tried talking with him because I thought maybe he was going to pass out, but you could tell at that point he was thinking that he didn't know if he was going to live through it or not.
I didn't know what was going on, and I know I was freezing to death, and I was fighting to keep myself conscious because I didn't know how bad it was.
It was definitely a relief to get down to civilization, knowing that he would be taken care of. They found that his left hand had bitten through. Right below his right elbow had been bitten through, and then he had been bitten one time in the back.
Got really lucky. I went home the next day. Felt really good to be home. I definitely cherish my time with my family and wife and kids more because, you know, that can all be taken away so fast. I'm 100% positive that my dad saved my life that day. I mean, I believe that, and I always will.
I'm so proud of him. I mean, if he hadn't have fought the bear the way he did, I think it would have turned out way worse. I would do anything for him. I mean, I would. If I had to die for him right now, I would. I know that God answers prayers. This was a major one, you know, and yeah, so that makes you a little more thankful.
There was nothing else to do than to wait. I kept thinking about my boy being alone, hurt. It's not fair. It's my kid, it's my baby. I know he's alive, but I'm starting to think grandkids and running and playing soccer with his babies. You know, he might not be able to walk again.
As soon as I woke up that next day in the hospital, my mom and dad were there. And they said, "You're keeping your leg." It was just really relieving, just knowing that I was keeping my leg and that I was in the hospital and that I was recovering from then on.
The whole fear of losing his leg was over, and that was a great feeling.
I stayed in the hospital for, I think, 2.5 weeks. My mom stayed with me through the whole hospital stay. It was nice to have her there. I think I told my mom I loved her a few times. The doctors are like, "Hey, we didn't want to tell you, but if the bite would have been that much more, it would have hit the artery and you just would have bled out before you even made it to the clinic." It's always gone through my mind that I could have gotten on the beach and nobody was there. I'm very fortunate for how everything worked out.
It's not till someone's life is like right in front of you and he was a kid, and I know he's really, really brave and all of those things, but yeah, I definitely feel very protective of him.
We will always have a special bond with Dakota. He didn't deserve what he got, but you know what? He's dealt with it in the most incredible way.
I mean, I don't know how many weeks, or if it was a month after he took that cast off, he was surfing. And it was amazing for me to see that he decided to go back so soon, but it ended up being the best therapy for him.
I was very nervous about going back out and surfing in the same spot for the first few times. But you just gotta train yourself not to be scared. I always look forward to surfing. I feel like I'm just on top of the surfboard, just doing the best I can and riding the wave.